I would imagine that many of us are practicing mindfulness or you've heard of its benefits. In several classes that I attended through mindful schools, one of my favorite exercises is the intention given to daily activities. I learned how to be mindful when brushing my teeth, closing a closet door, or climbing stairs. Depending on where you live, I hope that you have the opportunity to delight in the intricacies of nature and hopefully with children. This is a photo of the chrysalis in its last stage, about to emerge into the monarch butterfly. And it was a very unique opportunity, and hopefully you can find those things, especially if you live in an urban area, because then you might have to take a piece of nature and bring it indoors. My sense of wonder prompts my curiosity and appreciation. In general, our lives are comprised of cycles of order, disorder, and reorder. Usually, the disorder is not something we invite. There's no practical reason or compelling reason to leave our comfort zone. The unexpected forces us to go where we would never go otherwise. Yet, unless we're faced with adversity, great change will not come about. And certainly, this pandemic, being abrupt, ever changing, and far reaching, has forced us to make changes. When hearing from workshop participants on the positive changes they have made due to the pandemic, I'm actually uplifted. Through the disorder, I believe that we have a unique opportunity to reorder as global citizens with greater awareness of the consequences of our actions and with greater care for our neighbors, our communities, and for our planet, and for greater work for justice in the world. There's still much work to be done for these goals to gain some traction. This vision requires tools that lead us towards this type of reorder. And I believe taking care of ourselves is one of these, not in the selfish sense, but in the importance as to how this self-care can directly impact the communities and that we're a part of, and encourage others to do the same so that we can all lead with discernment and compassion in decision-making, daily activities, and our interactions with others. P is for positive, and again, there's an article there on positive thinking. Having a positive approach to our interactions can lead to healthier well-being. I appreciate this quote from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Our brains are so powerful. A friend of mine at Santa Cruz Montessori School used to say to the children, be careful what you tell yourself. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, reimagine the situation with what you can do. I hope that on a regular basis you have time for quiet. Let's spend again a short minute in silence, a moment of quiet. During these quiet times is when we can be creative. We can recenter and recharge. It definitely will reduce stress. In this quiet time, you can reinforce your place in the world. It's equally important that we incorporate quiet time for the children who are in our lives. Reflection gives the brain an opportunity to pause amidst any confusion and untangle it. We can sort through our experiences and consider multiple possible interpretations or solutions. Reflection helps us to create meaning in our life. So with the quiet and reflection, they're both related to be in touch with our source, that which grounds us. This may be in a spiritual or a secular sense. Many faith traditions encourage gathering as a group to reaffirm our beliefs, our values, and ideologies. I hope that you can take time to recognize what brings meaning in your life, what connections are important to you, and the core of your presence. Trust is an extremely important part of healthy relationships, and it's not to be taken for granted. This photo depicts an activity that I've led in workshops. Maybe you've done it. I've done this with children and adults. I really recommend it. And just like with different personalities we encounter, with some it may be easier to trust and others more difficult. Many people struggle with trust for a great variety of reasons. What does trust mean? Trusting someone means that you think they are reliable and you feel safe with them physically and emotionally. As a result, you set aside judgments and you have confidence in their decisions, even if mistakes are made, because you believe that they'll resolve the situation. If you truly trust a person, your connection then deepens with them. Within a trusting relationship, you can exchange ideas openly and help one another be more understanding. It takes time and effort to build trust. Trust has been the focus for me over this past year, especially the trust that I have that everyone is doing their best, even those with whom I disagree. And trust, in the end, I trust that all will be well. When we view ourselves as one of many, all part of global citizenship, we value unity that binds us. This is one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Montessori. We shall walk together on the path of life, for all things are part of the universe and are connected to each other, to form, one whole unity. It's a good one. She knew that this would not take place in her lifetime. However, her vision is shared by many global thought leaders and many, including us, who are working towards this hope. From time to time, I take stock in my value, that I matter. I grew up in a loving family, yet as a young child, I was not recognized for my ideas or my viewpoints. I look back at this as being generational. As an adult, I've had to remind myself of my self-worth. Doubting myself has been an obstacle for me. Over more recent years, I have practiced self-affirmations. I think about the positive traits that I have, not in a conceited way, no, quite the opposite, in a way to combat the negative messages that can easily creep in. When I feel valued, I'm more likely to feel safe in being vulnerable with others. And this leads to more authentic relationships. Earlier, I referred to breathing as one of the 7 ways to complete a stress cycle. Another is walking, or actually any physical activity. Some kind of exercise routine is important as a way of releasing stress and staying in shape. Within about a half hour, physical activity releases endorphins and stimulates the release of dopamine and serotonin. These brain chemicals play an important part in regulating our mood. All right, one of my favorites. This is a simple overview of the most particular important parts of the brain that are active during our interactions with others. Let's begin with the cerebellum. It's located in the brain stem in the back of the head. It's that pink part. And it's sometimes referred to as the reptilian brain. As early hominids, this was the most developed part of the brain. And it was really useful for hunting and gathering. It coordinates our volunteer movements such as balance and the cardiac and respiratory centers. And it's the part of the brain which is activated in cases of emergency, when there's a great deal of energy that's brought to our limbs, our hands, our feet, so that we can run when we're facing danger. And although the cerebellum is a crucial part of the brain, it's not particularly useful when we're dealing with conflicts, because that's when we need to access our thinking brain, the cerebrum, specifically the neocortex, which is in the front. The neocortex is in charge, among other things, of reasoning and conscious thought. This is why we can look back at a situation and wish we had handled it differently, because that's when we're calm and our big brain is working. Let's look at a couple of other parts. You see in the middle there, that little yellow part? It's about the size of an almond. That's the amygdala. It's responsible for our emotions and behavior. And in a charged situation, sometimes we're hijacked by our amygdala. It takes over. Connected to the amygdala is the hippocampus, which has a major role in learning and memory. Emotional memories are magnified in the presence of stress. This is why ACE, adverse childhood events, can be triggered by a smell, a color, a sound, or an image. This may be going on for ourselves or others, leading to irrational reactions. This is why it's beneficial to have access to calming strategies so that we can move our thought process to our neocortex, our thinking brain. And in addition, research indicates that in order to build resilience, we need the support of at least one caring, compassionate, and consistent person. Did you grow up with Sesame Street? Well, whether you did or not, I highly recommend you find this song, The Power of Yet. It's a real catchy tune. The point is that there are times that we may feel that we cannot do something. However, if we add the word yet, for example, I don't know how to knit yet. I can't find the recipe yet. It changes our perspective to a more positive approach. I invite you to add yet to your lexicon. Zenith refers to the highest point in the sky. And I realize that I'm amongst people who have high expectations, especially of themselves. I'm one of them. Although we might be trying to reach for the sky, it's vital that we stay grounded and that we are reasonable with our expectations of ourselves. Many of us as Montessorians work really hard. We give it our all. We have grand ideas and we want to make a difference. However, what you're doing is enough. Be it listening to a parent through challenging times, or helping children navigate through their relationships, or observing a spider, or holding the door open for someone. Whatever small actions made with intent do make a difference. I encourage you to be reasonable and know that being yourself and taking care of yourself, you are making an impact. We have to give ourselves permission to take time needed to practice self-care, as it does have an impact on the communities of which we are a part. So here's one other slide on prompts. So I want to invite you to take that one item that you're going to focus on, just having that one to start with, and create a reminder for yourself so that you can keep that visible, and that'll help you to stay on your goal. Here's the photo collage that you can refer to. Feel free to print this up, and that'll be an opportunity for you to be able to remember the various keys that we've talked about community care via self-care. But I just want to share with you that personally, I still have to work at filtering out my negativity. I connect with positive people, and I set boundaries, especially about what I'm listening to these days. I take time for myself and my family. And during this pandemic, it's even more crucial that we take time for ourselves in order to balance out the stress from fears, the limitations imposed on our lives, and the steady need to deal with the unexpected. I hope that you found this presentation helpful. And the great advantage of video conferencing is that we have geographic freedom. We can take advantage of this. So I want you to know, feel free to share this recording if you feel that it would benefit others in your community. And if you have any specific needs for future presentations or workshops, be it for your community of parents or families, staff, or children, let me know. You can send me an email at that email address, pathways2tlc@gmail.com. Thanks for being with me.